Hey, everyone. Welcome to Emotion Monday. Welcome, guys. I got time today. I'm not rushing, and this is not a pre-record, so I am here. So welcome. Um, Start off with my introduction. If this is your first time here, if you're live or watching the replay. This is Emotion Monday. E is for electronic, motion is movement, and the purpose for this day of the week for the Psalms of My Emotion is to push you forward, through the electronic means, through the internet, through, this platform to have you push you so that you can be in motion, right? While dealing with your emotions. Um, because sometimes when you're not healed or you're suffering from your wounds or any emotional wounds, it could stop you actually from moving forward to moving into the things that God has for you. So that is the purpose for Emotion Monday. I drop these wisdom Jesus nuggets that he gives me, that he continually gives me. Because, sometimes I'm like, am I going to run out of stuff eventually? But no, he just keeps giving me fresh insight, fresh revelation all the time. And I take it not for granted that he gives them to me. So I'm so grateful, godly grateful for it. And also, if you guys don't know, because some of you guys are not Facebook viewers, if you like YouTube better, I am actually live on YouTube as well. Because I know I like YouTube when I watch things because I can see it on my TV. But so YouTube is live and you can watch the replay on YouTube. This podcast is audio, so it's available on most things that you like to listen to podcasts or where podcasts are available. So just search the Psalms of My Emotions podcast, and it should pop up. I believe we're approaching almost 150 episodes, real close. So there's plenty. If you are just getting started with the Songs of My Emotions podcast, just heard about it, you have plenty to listen to and to catch up on. So not gonna prolong it any longer. Let the healing begin. So you guys, well, first I had this thought while I was just writing everything out or writing my little notes. And sometimes you just have to be in this mode of gratitude. I just want to park here for a minute. Of where God has brought you from. Sometimes we can want something or look so far into the future and then we're disappointed because we're not there, or it's not happening fast enough. But what gratitude does is it has you, look at the blessings that God has already done for you. And then it gives you the strength. It gives you, it renews your faith, because you look back and saw the things that God's done before with you. And then you're amazed by that. So it says, right, 150-piece nugget pack. So, sometimes it's just amazing. I was just thinking, like, you guys, I wouldn't have thought maybe 3 years ago that I would be, just on here talking, to you guys, that I would have a podcast and that it would continue to grow and things. So I'm just grateful, because this is actually something that I was scared to do, was to get on live and talk to people, which in a way, like, I tried to like really structure it. I had to write out everything that I wanted to say. And, I thank God for his grace that he didn't just like say, just, he knew what I needed to do. He knew the training that I needed to have, right? He know what I needed to know to get comfortable with some things he wants me to do. So now it's just notes and I just let him speak, right? So it's just not me. I let him speak. So let's go ahead and get to this topic, y'all. Counterfeits. Counterfeits. This is actually like a teaching slash prophetic warning and word, because I've just seen a lot, sat back and watched a lot, observed a lot, discerned a lot. And God shares with me. So and a lot of times where we share things, and if it hits someone so sharp, that hey, that's God, it's doing something. Don't ignore that, hit to your spirit. If this message hits you, don't ignore, that pull, that you'll know what that feeling is, that conviction. Don't ignore it. Go to God with it and see what he will reveal to you. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Whatever I say, and if it's hitting you, if it's just feels like a little cut, like, oh my God, that hurt. Go to God with it and he will, reveal that to you. If you truly want to know, curious of why you're feeling that way. So, okay. I'm going to go into it. So counterfeits, right? You guys know I got to always start with the definition. We use words so commonly that we, forget to just really just look at truly what the meaning of the word is. So counterfeit by definition is made an exact imitation of something valuable or important with the intention to deceive or defraud. I can look, even with that definition alone, I'll read it again. Made an exact imitation of something valuable. So it's just not counterfeiting, or counterfeits, just not an imitation of just anything, right? That doesn't have value. It has to have value for someone to want to imitate something, right? It says, or important with the intention to deceive or defraud. So when something is counterfeited, the whole assignment, the whole intention is to deceive or defraud, right? And then, getting deeper into it, because, I had to break that one enough. That one word wasn't enough. I had to break down this word into pieces. And so counter means to act in opposition, oppose, offset, nullify, right? So that's counter. That's first word. I'm going to read it again. To act in opposition, oppose, offset, nullify. And then the other part of the word fit, which is FEIT, is a root that means made or done, right? Made or done. And then as I, God was dealing with me with this topic today, he told me, he said, just read it and read it slow and read back what it says to you. So Counterfeit. Counter what fits, right? Counter what fits. So it's an opposition, right, of what fits, which is what's made or done. So, I mean, this just goes so deep because when you think of fit, and like I read you guys the definition, the root word of that, made or done, right? So, made, you guys know that that's our creator, right? He made us in his image. He made us, he molded us to be something, so anything that is added into our life, anything that he adds to our life has already been molded, it has already been made, it already has been specified for our journey, it has already been specified, right, for are making, right? And I'm going to go into deeper into what it is in a minute. So these are things that has already been made or done. So, counter that. So it's something in opposition of what God has designed, right? It counters what God has made to fit, right? It's been tailored to us. So he said, just look at the word and read it slow. It counterfeits, counter what fits. It battles what fits. It's in, just in that contest of what fits. It interrupts what fits. I'm just adding on as God is talking to me. It's in the way. It's in opposition. It's opposing what fits. Was already made, was already done, right? What God had already designed. It's like it's getting in the middle of that. It's like I said, it's getting in the middle of that from that coming to pass. So this goes into, so in areas where there are counterfeits, when you hear counterfeits, usually people always go to and think of relationships, mostly romantic relationships. We're going to deal with all of it. We're going to deal with counterfeit callings, assignments, relationships, whether they be romantic or friendships, right? There's counterfeits in all of these, because these are things that, that we desire, of God, we want to do the assignment of the Lord. We want to, know our calling, know our purpose. We want to, we want relationships. We want good relationships. We want good friendships. But there is this space that is dangerous to be in and that distorts your discernment and your vision. And that is a space of hurt, a space of emotional hurt, where you make decisions, you see things as, as you are hurt, right? How many of you have been hurt and you have made decisions in your pain that you regret, right? So you're making these counterfeit, decisions saying, okay, this is the way it is. But actually, it's just really combating the things that God, has for you. So counterfeits, this is my notes because I was just in there writing. I put counterfeits feel like they squeeze in an already tight space occupied by unhealed wounds. So I talk about the wound, unhealed wounds and how dangerous that is. I'll read it again. Counterfeits feel like they squeeze in an already tight space occupied by unhealed wounds. And then it says, you battle now with counterfeits trying to fit. So it's like you're already battling with yourself and your emotional things that you go through. Then here comes whatever it is that feels like it, at the time, because you're not thinking clearly when you're not emotionally in a state. You're not thinking clearly. So these opportunities, these relationships, these things come. And then because of how your mind is set up, you're like, okay, well, that's it. That fits, right? Not knowing that it's a counterfeit. It's there to oppose what God has for you, what God has already put in position for you. And I'm just seeing just a lot of it, and I think out of people, I would say mostly out of just, you guys know I always talk about thirstiness all the time. Out of desperation, out of just impatience with God. We take maybe any job, any career, because God, I can't wait to get into what you've called me to do. So I'm just going to do this thing until, right? That's counterfeiting, right? You're accepting the counterfeit. Well, God, this isn't, I don't feel that this is right, in the calling for me that you called me to do, but I'm gonna do this because I want to do it, do it. But that's not really the calling that God has for you. A relationship that comes along, it's maybe out of state of, loneliness. So then you kind of move faster or do things more than what you ought, because I'm dealing with this loneliness, as opposed to seeing how this person fits, right? So then now you're welcoming a counterfeit, somebody that is opposing, right, the vision that God has already put together. So, in addition to that, I put you battle now with counterfeits trying to fit, and unknowingly making room for your unhealed wounds, which unfortunately starts to make decisions on what should be allowed in. If you are not careful, right? That's what window and what gate. We guys, look, we just got done talking about gates. This is the window. This is the gates that are open, right? When it comes to how does these counterfeits come in? They come in through these gaping wounds that we don't want to deal with. That we feel like we got time to deal with it later. But it opens up room for these counterfeits to come in, right? And then your wounds, your emotional wounds start making decisions for you. It start making choices. It starts making um movement for you, and that becomes dangerous, right? So sometimes how to check that is, that's why I recommend, especially for singles, to and I push and I advocate for that, being a whole person, right? And what that consists of is, I was telling my sister, before, like, being a single person, you have to already know your non-negotiables, right? Know it absolutely, and not just doing them out of fear or out of past hurt, but doing them with the instructions that God has already given you, right? You've partnered with God, you've been in prayer with God, He's giving you these non-negotiables, right? Like, they can't, like, if God has told you to remain somewhere, and then something comes and then it makes you move, you're just like, well, God, I thought you told me I wasn't leaving this place, or whatever. And then you do it, and then it's like, okay, wait, did I hear from God or did I not hear from God? And it's kind of a weird, spot. So once you know, and you know yourself, that you hear God clearly, it won't be a confusion, right? That's your non-negotiable, right? Because somebody will come and just kind of blow all your non-negotiables out the water, and then you start leaning, and then you start, kind of settling, for some things that wasn't you're supposed to be selling for. So now you're making room, you're making the counterfeit comfortable. Right? So now everything starts to be like, well, that's not that bad. And I mean, this goes for, like, the things that I've listed before, with the relationships, with the careers, with everything is not that bad anymore, right? And really what you're causing yourself to do, you're causing yourself to compromise, right? You're causing yourself to compromise. So you're making room for the counterfeit to come in even the more. And then now it's starting to look like, well, that's the vision that God has given me. That's it. But no, because you're still dealing with stuff that's unhealed in yourself. Right? So that's why I advocate, and that's why it's important, even in the Bible, it tells you to be healed, right? He advocates healing so much, not just to be well and be healed just to be better, but because wounds are gaping doors, they're doorways for the enemy to come in. So these are your ways of closing the door of the enemy, because the enemy can only come in, through that, through hurt, right? Through all it, because it's the opposite of love, the environment that incubates the atmosphere of God, right? It combats that, because if you're scared, you're worried, you're mad, you're angry, you know what I'm saying, and they're not resolved, it's causing another atmosphere to come and to be, just sit up on your life. And then that atmosphere is conducive to these demons to come in, right? It's just, you're creating, when you have these thoughts and when you're not healed, you've already created this other atmosphere that's not like a God-like atmosphere, right? So you can't welcome anything healthy in an atmosphere. You don't know what's healthy, right? So that's why that healing is important, that knowing where you are is important. And if you feel like you're making decisions, and you keep repeating it, because there's cycles that come with it, you'll know when you're like, why do I keep being in the same situation, right? Then you have to take a step all the way back because you have a window, you have a door, you have a wound that's opening these counterfeits, these counterfeit relationships, these counterfeit friendships, these counterfeit assignments, these counterfeit callings. You have something that is causing you to accept things that God has never told you. It's countering what fits, right? Got to be honest with yourself. Listen, got to be honest with yourself at all times. And I think, that's why I push with people that are single, and to know that that's a gift. You are able to sit with yourself without any interruptions. Because when you have a husband, or as a male, you have a wife, you are interrupted by the duties and you having to serve your spouse. So if you have nobody in the house with you, because you when you have a spouse, they're with you all the time, right? You go home with them, you're there in your space all the time, you're constantly serving each other. So when you're single, you are in a very good space to serve yourself, right? To get what you need to get, not wait till, let me do this and do that for my husband and do that and do this for my wife, and then I'll carve out time, to deal with my issues and things that I'm going on with. Because a lot of times we think when we get married, we make that spouse, we make that other person God, and they're not God. They're not going to heal you. They're not going to solve your issues. They're your helpmeet. They can help you get there, but they're not going to solve your problem, right? So, and marriage is supposed to reflect that relationship between you and God. But if you have not established that first, you're not going to know what that looks like, right? So it's always good to just establish yourself, have God settle you. Be a strong one, right? Because one, I always say, one is a powerful number. It's a foundational number. You always start with one. And what you do in that foundation is the basis on how everything will stand, how everything, what will build on top of you. Will you be able to hold everything up, right? So that's that dangerous thing about still being hurt, because your wounds, your hurt are making choices for you. Even though we just like, oh my God, Lord, I just been going through this. I'm tired, of I'm just in this place. So, but I want a relationship, or, I mean, even in your job, it could be a good job, but then you just want to move on because you're mad, but not necessarily asking God, well, should I leave this job, or what's my assignment here at this job? Right? Because in my job, I like it. It's easy. I'm getting a little bored. But I had assignments at my job, and I still probably do have assignments, and it's people, that I have to minister to or whatever at my job. So I just can't leave based off on, okay, my comfort, or I'm bored, or you don't have to go according to God's leading, because if I did that, I would be entering to a counterfeit state. I will be going into I will be going into a counterfeit position, right? And then I would be unhappy. And then I will be just in these spaces that God never told me to be in. So the other thing is, which I kind of explained, check your pain, trigger, and trauma thermometer, right? I say it again, check your pain, trigger, and trauma thermometer. So I would advise before you make any decision in going into, assignments, relationships, check these thermometers. Right now, if these thermometers are just like running high in hot light, you got these triggers, and you're still trying to go through, just figure out the trauma, in your life, or you're going through this pain. These are not very good states to make these big decisions on. Right? But we don't, like I said, we're impatient. We don't want to wait because we want what we want. And it's only because we feel like it's going to heal us, right? We feel like it's going to heal us, but the only person that can heal us is Jesus. He's the healer, right? So, of course, you guys know I have to give you just a little Bible, that goes into this. So, as I was studying and looking for counterfeits in the Bible, God mostly talks about, just in the Bible, about just counterfeit Christians, like who is really, making sure you know how to discern who is following the things of God and Jesus, and who is, just going about their own way, right? So he talks about that in the Bible. So it's not really necessarily a direct of how to choose and things. It was more so about just how you stand on your beliefs, right? So, but I remember, there is a story. There is a biblical story, about Abraham. So that was the only thing I thought about when I thought about counterfeits, was Abraham. And, most of you guys know the story about Ishmael and Isaac, right? So Abraham, was just, God promised him, descendants. He promised him, that he would have them. There'll be numerous as the grains of sand, numerous as the stars, he will have this. But he was old of age. His wife was old of age. He's like, well, God, how are you going to do this? And he just said, I'm just going to do it. So, Sarah didn't believe, and she initiated in, Abraham sleeping with the handmaid so then they could have a son. So they did that. The handmaid had, Hagar had the son, Isaac, or Ishmael, and that was the counterfeit. But look at the conditions of where Abraham and Sarah were, right? They were out of impatience and unbelief, right? And then I thought about it as I was just looking back at Abraham's history, because we never really talk about it. Abraham and his father, this was according to Joshua 24:2. Abraham and his father worshiped idols, right? And so we know that Abraham, God told Abraham eventually to leave his country. He told him leave his country in Genesis 12:1. And this was always for that purpose, so he can learn God, because he was worshiping other gods. So, during this transition, he's learning about God. But as I was thinking, though, was that while Abraham was going through this journey of learning God, of course, he went through all these testings, but Abraham, we don't know what other things he was battling with, right? And so this thing with him and Sarah and this impatience, what thing was not resolved, right, in the bloodline that could have just opened up, just like, okay, well, this is okay, this counterfeit, it's okay, we can make this choice out of here and we can deal with the consequences later. Because as they did eventually have Isaac, right? And then what happened after that? It was a bunch of confusion. It was a bunch of jealousy, It was a bunch of the stuff that probably wouldn't have happened if Abraham and Sarah was just patient. So if we just be patient, if you know that God has promised you something, and see, that's the thing, especially with prophetic words, or God has told you something and you may have told somebody else, but you had to know that the enemy is listening. The enemy is listening, right? So you ever thought about something or said something, and then it seems like immediately that thing comes right fast? Most of the time, that is just like definitely a red flag, right? That's how it just comes quick. It comes too fast for you to think, like have time to think. And that is like such a trick of the enemy. It comes so fast that you have no time to think. Quick. Right? Like a flash. And I said most times, I know, God is sovereign. He can do whatever and however he wants to do it when he wants to do it. But most of the times, because we won't have time to think. We won't have time to process anything. And if you think about it, if you are already in a state of confusion, of not knowing who you are, of being hurt, and the devil tries to get that thing to you before you know who you are and before your healing comes. So think about it. If you're like, you feel like you're on a breakthrough, in your healing journey, like you're about to break through, like you're doing well, you making choices for yourself. Then here comes a counterfeit. And like I said, I'm talking about relationships, jobs. You're doing well on your job, whatever. Then here comes these counterfeit offers, positions, relationships. Here comes this counterfeit friends, right? You ask God for a healthy group of friends, but then here comes this bunch out of nowhere. And you like, now, wait a minute. Oh, that's quick. And then they sound like they are what you need. And we all know that with friends, how they get connected with us depends on the state that we're in today. So, I believe sometimes friendships are seasonal, and it's because, everyone grows. Um, it's good, if you guys can stay on the same page and, grow together. But a lot of times, a lot of friends are just seasonal, right? And you have to be okay with that, because sometimes you might be connected to a group of friends and you were hurt and you guys share hurts. You guys know I talked about that with trauma bonds. You were hurt, but now that you become healed, these friendships maybe don't fit anymore, right? So if you're staying in them and then you're making choices, they're starting to make choices for you, you might be, them not your friends that you need to be with. So that's why even in friendships, you still have to try to be healthy to accept friendships, because friendships have strong influence of impacting your decisions, right? And the choices that you make in life. They have a impact. They have weight sometimes, and this is a warning. We give some of our friendships too much weight in our life, right? They make decisions for us, and we don't know. Maybe we feel like we're not strong enough, to make decisions. But see, that's where that comes from. So yeah, I want to give that example. That's what brought my train of thought. I thought about that, and let me see what else God was saying about that. So like I explained, counterfeits in the Bible refers to Christianity as being an age as wait. Counterfeits in the Bible refers to Christianity. Okay. Like I said, in the Bible, but as being an agent of Satan that tries to stop the progress of the Bible. So, okay. See, I brought chicken scratch and I don't even know what I wrote. That's a shame. So I was trying to get my thoughts together on that. So, the Bible talks about counterfeits in the Bible refers to Christians, who's real, whatever. But the reason why God does that, as far as in the Bible, he goes so strong, because there's many scriptures. It was too many for me to reference to, about be careful. And there's a scripture where he John talks about, be careful of false prophets, right? Um, so you can know what's real or fake. And he urges that warning, because if you listen to these people's teachings, right, they have the ability to alter you and take you off course. So with counterfeits, right? With counterfeits coming in, it's like the same thing, right? They counterfeits planted by the enemy, it stops the progress of your destiny, right? So not only, how the Bible refers to Christianity as stops your progress as growing in Christ. I mean, it's the same thing, right? It blocks your destiny. So that's kind of where I want to hone into and come home to. It's like the whole thing about counterfeits and this warning about counterfeits, because I see it. When you're on the edge of a breakthrough, when you're on the edge of knowing who you are, be careful of these opportunities and these people coming in, because they're sent on assignment, and necessarily it might not be bad people or necessarily a bad position. Every counterfeit does not have to be like bad or malicious. It could be good, but it could be good for somebody else. It's not made for your destiny. So really what it will do, because you have some things going on with yourself, internal battles with yourself, it's interfering your way to make decisions. And then when these counterfeit things come, it's really deterring you. It's really stopping your progress to destiny. So it's dangerous to entertain, to accept counterfeits in your life, right? And it's not just like I said, it's jobs, it's friendships, it's relationships. It's dangerous to accept counterfeits because it's time wasters, destiny blockers, all because we don't want to sit with ourselves and deal with our healing, deal with the wounds that go so deep that, like I said, now it's making decisions for us, right? We have to be careful of these counterfeit things, these counterfeit people, these counterfeit opportunities. We have to be careful. Check it. Check your thirst. Check your thirst. Check your trauma thermometer. Check your pain thermometer, right? Don't make decisions while you're in pain. Don't make decisions while you're still heartbroken. Don't make decisions when you are imbalanced, in things. Just be when you are just content, in a state of gratitude, in a state of, just I'm in my purpose, you know, um, I'm content of where I'm at. I'm not thirsty for anything. I don't need anything. Now you're in us, and you worship God, you pray, do all the things that you need to do to establish and strengthen that relationship with God. Now you're in a position to make decisions. Right? So that's a nice indicator. If you're angry, you're lost, you're lonely, don't refrain from making decisions, that can impact and change your life, right? Because a lot of times we just in this state of, and we don't know how detrimental that is to your life. And you guys know, my story, and I don't mind telling it, as much time as I got to. In my state of, like I said, when I had got, married and whatever, and made that major decision, I was hurt, rejected, lonely, whatever, and just simply thought that marriage would be the cure all, that would be that healing factor. And it wasn't. It was work, right? And just to do that in that position that I was in, to make that decision, because that was definitely a counterfeit, right? And it costed time, and I look at now from a different perspective. It really wasn't time wasted. It was what needed to happen for me to get to sit here and talk to you guys now. It was a way that what God had to use to get me in that place with him. So, but I can testify to that. Let's see. Jesus is the magnifying glass to verify if it is real or not. Just like money has its markers to prove it's authentic, Jesus will prove it is from him. Yeah, from him. Exactly. And that's good. Jesus is being like that little counterfeit, that counterfeit marker that be going on that money. And money, like I told you guys the definition of it before. Money is valuable. A counterfeit is only a counterfeit because it's made an exact imitation of something valuable. So you think about it. Marriages are valuable. You know, friendships are valuable, right? And callings, assignments, they're valuable, right? So we'll be like the devil, and he's always that I call the great perverter, right? He perverts things. He likes to copy things because he has no ability to create anything. So the only thing that he can manifest and put together is a counterfeit, right? That could be so close to what God has for you. And then when you get it, you look close enough, because see, even with the counterfeit and counterfeit money, you look close enough, you will see it's fake, right? Are counterfeits ever necessary? That's a good question, Clad. Like I said, for what I went through, and I definitely know that was a counterfeit. I know that was for my making, as far as the ministry and things that God has for me to do. But no, they're never necessary. Nothing is better than the real thing. But the devil be trying it. Be trying it. No, counterfeits are never necessary. Especially if it's copying something of, as the definition says, of value. And I think that was a good thing that I read that definition, because some people just think automatically that counterfeits are just fake copies of something fake. But counterfeit is only a counterfeit if it's a copy or a what did I say? Imitation of something valuable. And even with that, what do you hold valuable? And that's why I said that thirst factor that you want so bad. Are you able to discern if it's the real thing? There are some things that we have in our life that we want, and I mean that's considered valuable. And then when it comes, will that our impatience and thing welcome that counterfeit? Like, I don't care. Like, how people buy fake purses and things. It looks good. It's fake. It's a counterfeit. Because it looks something valuable, but you're trying to impress other people, right? And they see it. As long as they think it's real, it's okay. But I know it's fake. That's that's crazy. Because I wouldn't. My thing is with counterfeit. I would say just like with I'll just say purses, for instance. When I buy things, it don't matter even what it is. It don't even have to be a value, a name brand purse. If I like it, I like it. So I don't know all the brands. So if I so happen to buy a purse and it looks like another brand, trust me, I don't know. I really don't know. But that is really a crazy idea that someone would just want to do that just so it looks like the real thing, even though it's fake. So you take that into real life situations, right? What costs are you paying to have something that is fake just to prove to someone that it's real? That's crazy. Like, you putting on what they say, putting on for the gram. You putting on. but you want everyone else to think that it's real. This could be for a job. Your job looks like it's luxurious, or you're going to all these exciting places and whatever, but you are just so tired. You don't make the amount of money that you need to because you're spending money on other stuff, but you took the job because it just looks like I'm high status, right? You're in the relationship because it looks like, you know, this, but really I know what's going on, or I didn't want that, but it just looks good on paper, right? So I don't know. We got to be careful, and God is really, and the thing is with counterfeits, counterfeits always come before the real thing. And that's what happened, like I talked a little bit about Abraham and Sarah. Ishmael came before Isaac. And I mean the real thing didn't take too long to come after the counterfeit. So our impatience, right? That counterfeit, to me, if you look at it, if that counterfeit comes and you discern it as a counterfeit, you should know that your blessing is right there. That it's really not too far off. If the enemy has to feel like it has to send something to counterfeit what God has coming for you. That's how that's how the devil moves. He'll put something fake in front of you just to see if you can discern if it's fake. Like, I'm gonna try it. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try to see if I can ease this past them. Because he doesn't necessarily know anything about what we're going through, or the window, but he knows if there's one window or something, he's gonna try it. So if you can look past, if you're dealing with your hurt and you're discerning enough, like, no, I'm gonna say no to that because I'm not emotionally ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I'm just gonna stick with God, let him give me some downloads, and then I can make a decision. I can't make a healthy decision about anything right now. Right? I'm saying. So if you ever a counterfeit comes, so I guess that kind of answers your question a little bit, Clad. Are counterfeits ever necessary? Not necessary, but I do believe that it is uh a good sign to know that your blessing is around the corner. What you desire is around the corner. So if anything, about counterfeits is to know that your blessing is right around the corner. That's what I can say about that. So, you have to be careful taking anything because it looks like it fits. Like, I mean, and that's the thing about counterfeit. It looks like it comes right on time, look like it flows together. It looks like this is right, but it's not. So, I hope this helped y'all. Um, just think about slowing down, and really concentrating on being in a place where God can trust you, with what he has already made, right? Trust you with what he's already made, and that you will have the patience, to just wait. Even though, because sometimes we'll have our timeline, of things like, I want to make this amount of money by the time I'm age, whatever. But God's timing is the right time because he knows you. He knows exactly when, and everything that he does for us is not just for us, it's for whatever else surrounding thing is going on, right? It's other people involved in his movement with you. It doesn't just affect us, it affects everybody. It reminds me of, it's just like that movie, like The Butterfly Effect. What you do impacts somebody else down the line. So you have to think about that. What if God was sending, this job that came along, relationship or whatever, send it coming your way. You took it, but you really was supposed to decline it because that job or opportunity or that person was for somebody else, right? I don't know. So, just be very discerning because I just see now, like I said, the warning, there's so many counterfeits of anything, that you desire. The devil is copying things that, especially people of God want. And I mean, feel like they've been waiting years for. And what's being sent out are counterfeits because it's like another testing. Like, let me see if they're able to wait. Let me see if my children are able to wait, right? Make decisions because counterfeits are they don't cost much, but they're costly to your destiny, right? They copy something that's real and it makes them cheap, but it's costly to your destiny. I'm telling you, blessing counterfeits don't stand the test of time. The quality is poor. Yes, that quality is downgrade. It downgrades really quick, right? Yep. Waiting like Abraham. We have to have the patience of Abraham. Or not, well, learn from Abraham, but have that patience. It was years. Sometimes we may think things should come at a certain age or, well, I'm going to be too old. And you have to watch your words, right? Well, I'm going to be too old for that when that comes. It's like you're speaking negatively into that future. I won't be able. How do you know? Like relationships and getting married. I didn't think love got old. I didn't think, when you find love that it gets old. And if God gives you another job or gives you money, I don't think it's too old to enjoy anything. God, look, let Abraham and Sarah live. Let them live. These people live for a long time. Y'all forgot. These people live for a long time. Right? So sometimes we got to think outside of the box of what we want and our timeline and our things, because that's what disappoints us. We break, I say that all the time, we break our own hearts, right? Because we never acknowledge God, acknowledge him in all our ways, and he will direct thy path. Because God will make you listen. I don't care what nobody say. People in their 40s and up nowadays look younger than the younger ones. It's for real. I'm seeing it. It looks a little young. Look, these older ones, I mean these younger ones, 25, 20 years old, and I'm not talking about your clad. you know, and Janaea, we're looking like almost like the same age, right? So you never know how many years God is adding to you because he's bringing this to you, and he just wants us to wait, be patient, trust him, right? And don't and heal from the trauma, heal from the pain, so you won't have these open doors for the devil even to try to create these counterfeits, and sending them, right? So that's my warning. Be careful of the counterfeits. They're out there in the land. They're out there plentiful, especially in this season, because God has just, it's like we're on a brink of things coming to pass, and my pastor said that, so well that it was, we might have been waiting years, 20 years for it. We're on the brink of it coming to pass, and the enemy knows that. And then he sends these counterfeits. Kids at work never believe I'm 24, I'm 18, 19 to them. Right. See, that's, I'm like, not you, Clad, because you you look younger than your age anyways. So you know, Gotta make you feel young. I don't feel my age at all, right? I don't feel my age, but I know how old I am. But I don't feel my age, at all. So I think, that's the miracle and things of God. It just reminds me of the children of Israel, how things grew with them. It reminds me of the children of Israel, how things grew with them. So I don't know. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I'm just going to go ahead and do what I always do at the end of the broadcast, at the end of these recordings, is do the plan of salvation. Romans 10:9 states that if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you confess and are saved. So you can say this to my podcast listeners, those watching this replay, those watching now. This is how you receive Christ, right? You confess who he is, right? That he died and he rose on the third day, and you confess your sins, and you try, with his help, to turn away, like, I want to live a new life, right? And you can say this in your home. You can be saved where you're at. You can be saved in your house. You don't have to wait till Sunday morning, because tomorrow is not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. The next day is not promised. The next hour is not promised. So you know to secure your soul, this is the way to get into salvation. And you have to believe in your heart. You have to believe that Jesus died for your sins. You have to believe it. It's a heart thing. At the end of the day, God weighs your heart, right? God weighs your heart, and he and to know that you believe in him, and that's it. That's it. It's not a big to do. But I do advise to, with the leading of God, find you a local place, local church to go and learn more about him. Just confess that you gave your life to. Learn more about him, right? So you can navigate the Bible and learn, and you know and grow, and obtain the Holy Spirit, get baptized, just go deeper. I mean, there's so many depths in God to get to. We're not even at the tip of understanding and knowing him, but you have to know how mighty he is, right? How powerful he is to even just think about it. So I can go on and on, but that's it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. I don't know what topic I'm going to speak on, but you can share this for anyone that you feel like need it. And I thank you. You can continue to comment on this video. And if you want to contact me, because I really haven't did this, but someone asked me to do this. You can follow me on Instagram, Relinda C. McCoy. Email me if you have any questions. You listened, you heard me on the podcast. I accept emails, questions, and even if you ask questions, I can read them on one of the lives. I won't say your name or anything, but I can read it, and so they can be answered, right? So it's Relinda McCoy at the PofMe.com. Relinda McCoy, RALINDA MCCOY at the PofMe.com, and I will answer your questions. All right, guys, I thank you for tuning in. I'll let you have the rest of your evening back, and I'll check you later.